right, so we are going to get into exponents today. So this is section 1.2. This is for Math 8, although we may end up using this in other sections as well. So first we're going to say, what is an exponent? So we're going to look at the definition of an exponent. So an exponent is a number that states how many times the base number is to be used in multiplication. So we need to label, we need to identify some pieces here so that we understand what it means by base number. So if we come over here and we look at this little diagram here, we have a big giant 3 and a little tiny 2. So the little tiny 2 is the exponent and the 3, that's the base. Okay, so those are just the two pieces of this type of problem. And together we call this a power. Okay, and we might even read this sometimes as 3 to the power of 2 or 3 to the power of 3, something like that. So what this shows us when we say exponent, it's literally how many times am I going to use this base, this big number, how many times am I going to multiply that? So I see a lot of students make the mistake where they go 3 times 2. It doesn't mean 3 times 2. It's telling me how many times to use the 3, the big number. It's not always going to be a 3. In this example it is. So if I have an exponent of 2, it means I'm going to go 3 times 3. There's 2 3's. Or if it's 3 to the third power, or with an exponent of 3, I'm going to write 3 times. That does not mean 3 times 3. It's 3 times itself 3 times. That's different. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to the wording there. Okay. Or 3 to the fourth power. So you can see there's 4 3's, and I would multiply. So 3 times 3, I get 9. 3 times 3 here, I'd still get 9, but I have to multiply it again by 3, I get 27. And then 3 times 3 times 3, we just did that, it's 27. Times 3 again, that'd be 81. So you can see how quickly exponential problems grow. So exponents help us multiply a little faster. So this is kind of going back, if you remember back in elementary school when we learned multiplication in the first place, they start with repeated addition. So, you know, we could go 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. I think that was 4 times. It might have been 5 times I said that. We'll say I said 3 5 times there. So we're adding 3 5 times. Well, I get 15, but there's a faster way to write that. It's 3 times 5, right? That's that idea of repeated addition changing into multiplication. So it's a faster way to write that. Well, it's the same thing with an exponent. Instead of writing repeated multiplication, there's a faster way to write that. We can use an exponent. So that's all an exponent represents, is repeated multiplication. All right, so let's go ahead and practice that. So we're going to rewrite these with an exponent. That's all it's asking us to do. It's not asking you to actually evaluate them, because that's a different type of problem. This one just says rewrite. So literally I'm just going to say how many 7's are there in this one? Well, there's 2. So I'm going to write 7, that's my base, that's how the number being multiplied, and then my exponent is how many there are. Same thing with the 8, so how many 8's are there? There are 3. So I'm going to write my base of 8, and there were 3 of them. And then 4, and it animated a little too quickly there, there were 5 4's, I just have to count them. And so I have a base of 4 and an exponent of 5. So that's when they ask you to rewrite using an exponent, that's all they're asking you to do. It's just how many times is it being multiplied? Write what's being multiplied, your base, and then how many times is your exponent. All right, the next type of problem we're going to come across is actually evaluating. So I wanted to show you using exponents on a calculator, because it's very convenient to use a calculator in this situation. And depending on, you know, how big of the number that we're using, it's going to be a little bit more required to use the calculator as we move forward here. So we have 3 different types of calculators. I threw them all up here just so you can see them. So this is the, the classroom calculator, the ones that I can hand out to you in class. Here's what Apple's calculator looks like. If you turn your phone sideways, you get a little scientific calculator. So this could be on your phone, this could be on your tablet, on a computer. They all look the same. Or you have the Android version. I'm not sure if there are different colors of that one. That was just the one that I could find real quick on the device that we had. So again, this is a scientific one. I do like Android because it actually shows you what you're doing and then gives you a little total. Apple doesn't do that. And then you can also see the history in Android. Again, Apple doesn't do that. So there's a couple different features there. I mean, I don't mind the Apple calculator, but it doesn't actually give you as many features as the Android one. The classroom calculator also does not show you the calculation the ongoing calculation, and it does not show you the history either. There is a memory feature on it, but that's a little different. Okay, so anyway, those are the basic 3 types of calculators. There's also online ones you can look up. Usually Alex will give you one as well if you are allowed to use one on their system. So there's tons of different ways to do this, but mainly I wanted to show you where to find the exponents when you're looking here. So if you're looking at Apple, we have these x with a 2, x with a 3, x with a y. So this is squared cubed. That's what we call a 3. So 2 we call squared, 3 we call cubed. Anything above that, we're not going to have a button for. We're going to have to actually use this special button. Android only had squared, and then it went to that special button. And then the classroom calculator also only had squared. But if you notice, instead of x and y, like these calculators, it goes yx. Means the same darn thing. They're just changing the letters on us there. So these are the sections we're going to focus on the calculator. All right, so if we go forward here, I might have animated those a little too quickly. So what does evaluate mean? Because that's what the first word in both of these questions, it says evaluate. So evaluate in this situation just means to simplify. It actually means to do the math. Okay, so with this one, I have -2, and then to the 4th power. If you notice it's in parentheses, what that means is it's including the negative. So it's the entire -2. If it was just the 2 and the negative was outside of the parentheses, the negative would not be included in the repeated multiplication. So pay attention to those parentheses. They do mean something. So we're just going to show -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. That's 4 times. And on the calculator, I think it scooched down a little bit because it wasn't supposed to do this. So we can start by typing in the base number. And then depending on the calculator, we're either going to click on x squared or x cubed. Some only have x squared. If you need to use an exponent larger than 2 or 3, which we already do, we have a 4, then we're going to have to click that yx or xy, just depends on which calculator you're using. This button allows us to choose the exponent as needed. Don't forget to click the equal sign when you're doing that, because I'll explain, we're going to have to put the exponent in and then click equals. If you're actually clicking the x squared or x cubed button, you don't actually have to click equals. It automatically does it. And then to go from a positive to a negative, we click this little swap button. So this is what it looks like. You can see it down here on the classroom calculator. This is actually more what it looks like on like a phone calculator. It's just got this plus/minus, so that you can kind of see the differences there. But you'll see that positive and negative. The little symbol in between might be a little different, but it's the idea that you're going from one to the other. All right, so with this one, to do it on the calculator, we're going to type 2. That's our base. And then we're going to click that little plus/negative button, or the swap button, or this one on the classroom calculator. Some calculators will actually let you click the minus button and then the 2. I've noticed that before. Kind of just, again, some calculators have little nuances that are a little different. I think Android and some of the online calculators will actually let you hit minus and then 2. But I think with Alex, actually, you have to click the minus and then 2. I don't think they have a little plus/minus swap button. So, just learning how to use different calculators there. But with this one, if you're using the classroom calculator or even, an Apple and potentially an Android, you're going to hit that little button to make it negative. And then we have to click that XY or YX button. Remember, they're the same thing. Because we're going to do a 4. Oh, darn it. That says 3. That should say 4. We don't have an exponent of 3. We have an exponent of 4. So we're going to click that XY button, and then we're going to click 3 or 4 and equals. Because then it'll automatically, it knows to multiply -2 times itself 4 times. And it's a positive 16. That's what will pop up on your calculator once you hit equals. If you don't hit equals, you're just going to see 4 sitting there. So you have to hit equals after you hit that XY or YX button. Why is it a positive? Well, because 2 positives or 2 negatives make a positive. So I have -2 times -2, that would be a positive 4. And I can come over here and do the same thing. -2 times -2, that's going to be a positive 4. Then I have 4 times 4 gives me 16. So you just want to make sure you're paying attention. That negative was included. That's going to change your answer a little bit. If you didn't include the negative, you'd actually get positive 16 still, because they would have all been positive. But if this was an odd exponent, the answer would have been incorrect without the negative. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to that, the parentheses and what's included. So they also have parentheses down here. They have 4 to the third power. The parentheses are really not needed. They're just kind of extra. So we just have 4 times 4 times 4, 4 3 times. So in your calculator, you're going to type a 4. That's my base. And then I'm going to click the XY button if I'm using this calculator, and 3, because I don't have a cube button on here. I need to move these little circles up so that you can actually see where they are here. And then remember, I have to hit equals. Now, if you're using the Apple calculator or certain types of Android one, maybe online, you probably have the X cubed button. So the X to the third power. So you don't really have to do this XY, but you're welcome to do it at any point. We're literally just telling the calculator, I want to use an exponent, and this is the exponent I want to use. So we just have to tell the calculator that. And we hit equals. So we get 64. 4 times 4 is 16. Times another 4 is 64. So again, exponents grow very, very quickly. All right, so now we're going to look at this one. Evaluate your answer as a fraction in simplest form. So again, the parentheses are just showing us that it's both, we're doing both top and bottom of the fraction when we have this piece. So if the whole thing is in parentheses like that, I am squaring the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so make sure you don't want to type in 5 divided by 2 and then square it, because we don't want a decimal here. It wants a fraction in simplest form. So I want to complete the numerator and the denominator separately. Okay, that way we get both numbers there. So we're going to type 5 and then click the squared button, and we'll get 25 because it's 5 times 5, and that gives me 25. And then we're going to type 2 and click the square button. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Now, do you have to use a calculator for these? No. Hopefully we know 5 times 5 is 25, 2 times 2 is 4, so you don't have to use the calculator for these. But sometimes when we're doing larger numbers, they start to grow very quickly. So that repeated multiplication isn't quite as easy and fast to do without the calculator. All right, so that's kind of the basic idea of evaluating a power problem, or a problem with exponent. Okay, so now we're going to look at another type of evaluate. So it says evaluate the expression. So now we're still using evaluate, but it's a little bit more. So evaluate can also mean to find the value of the expression when the variable is replaced by a given number. So again, it's still asking us to do the math, but now it's going to give us the value of a missing number, which we represent as a variable. So evaluate the expression when n equals -5. So now I'm given n squared plus 9 times n plus 7, and they want me to evaluate it. So what I'm going to do is every time I see n, I'm going to replace it with -5. So you can see I highlighted it blue, sorry. I highlighted this blue up here, and then I put the -5s in blue down here so that you can see. It's -5, and then the squared plus 9, and I use parentheses to show my times here because it's 9 times n. So I put the -5 in, and then plus 7 on the end. So now I have all numbers, and I just need to go through and do my math. Remember PEMDAS, which is our order of operations. We remember that by saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And it means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So it just gives us an order of how to simplify. How do we evaluate this? So first, we want to deal with parentheses, but parentheses mean a true grouping. This is more just grouping a single number. So when we say parentheses, we're not talking about one single number. So we're actually going to move to exponent, because I'm going to do negative times -5 squared. So that's going to get me 25. And then 9 times -5, that's where I got the -40 here, and then plus 7. So I did the exponent, and then multiplication division would come next. And now I can do addition subtraction. And when you're doing this, you kind of want to go from left to right. It makes it much easier. There's a lot less mistakes if we do it from left to right. So if we do 25 minus 40 and then add 7, we get -13. Because this is going to be a negative, 40 is much bigger than 25, and it is being subtracted from it. So we're going to end up with a negative number here, and then we're going to make that negative number a little smaller by adding 7 back to it. So with that one, we end up with a negative here. So we've evaluated this expression. You can see over on this other one, what is going on? I did not fully animate this one, so I'll have to fix this one for class. So you get to already see this. I'll just talk through it. So we're going to evaluate the expression when m equals 9 and n equals 8. We'll go back a little bit. So 7 times n plus m. So we don't have any exponents on this one, but we do have two different variables. So I just need to make sure that I plug them in correctly. So 7 times n, and I highlighted n in green, so you can see my green 8 down here, 9 times 8, plus m, so m I highlighted in blue, so there's my blue 9. So you just want to make sure you're plugging in the correct place, because yes, it will change the math. If you accidentally put the 9 here, 9 times 9 is different than 9 times 8. So, hopefully we understand that idea that we're multiplying different numbers. So just make sure you're placing it in the right spot there. And then we're going to go through and do our multiplication. There is no true parentheses as far as grouping. There's just grouping the one number. There's no exponents, but there is multiplication. So we have 9 times 8, we get 72, plus 9, and 72 plus 9, we get 81. So we've evaluated that expression as well. All right, so I hope that helped. We will keep moving forward and start looking at multiplying exponents next week. So I will see you on the next video.